Hello everyone, I am Dr.A.NAGALAXMI, Assistant Professor, Dr. SNSINSTITUTIONS College of Arts and Science, Autonomous, Coimbatore, in Department of Commerce with Finance. I am here to deliver a lecture video in the course Incubation Business Development. In that, financing the new venture is the main unit. In that we are going to see a concept sources of finance. So as we know, the finance is the lifeblood of the business, of any business. Without finance, we cannot start the business, we cannot run the business, we cannot succeed in the business. So in order to source the fund for the effective running of the business without any interruption, we should have internal as well as external sources of finance for the continuous running of the business. So here in this lecture video, we are going to see the sources of finance. All types of business need money to start up, stay in business, or to expand. To start a business, finance is needed. To continuously carry on the business, finance is needed. To make the expansion of the business, finance is needed. So, the sourcing of finance is a very important aspect of the business. So, it should be properly diagnosed. How to source the fund, in what way it is to be sourced, at what time it is sourced. Everything is to be analyzed and it should be properly implemented. Here in this video, we are going to see an overview of the types of finance available to businesses. The first is the internal source. The second is the external source. Internal source is sourcing the funds internally inside the business. How? The fund can be generated by taking the owner's savings from retained profit or retained earnings, reducing the levels of stock, sales of existing assets, then through shareholders. So definitely owner will have a savings. It will be saved from the profit. It's not a retained earnings or a reserve or unaccumulated profits or undistributed. It is separate. It's a savings. The next comes the retained profit, which I explained you just before. That is undistributed profit, accumulated profit, reserves and surplus, retained earnings. It is a small part which is kept undistributed, which is kept as a reserve. That is the retained profit. Next is the reducing the levels of stock. Ideal stock of raw materials or idle stock of work in progress or idle stock of finished products is lost to the business. So those things has to be reduced. That means the calculation of EOQ for the procurement of raw materials, maintaining the levels of stock, maximum level, minimum level, reordering level, everything is to be kept paka. Next is sale of existing assets. Some assets of the business which may not fetch any income, but it will be there for the business, which is kept for meeting some situations like expansion, introduction of a new unit, or introduction of a new product, or replacing a updated technology. In that times those assets will be sold and the sources of funds will be generated through that. The next is shareholders. How sometimes go for further issues, or issue of bonus shares, or issue of right shares, or through the issue of shares the funds will be generated, or unclaimed amount of share capital will be sourced. These are the internal sources. External sources comes short term, medium term, long term. Short term is 0 to 1 year. Medium is 1 to 3 years or maximum 5 years. Long term is more than 5 years. So how? In short term, through overdraft, going for short term loans, availing trade credits, debt factoring. These are the short term sources of finance. Next is medium term. Medium term is by availing bank loans, leasing, hire purchases. Long term is through availing of mortgages loans, security loans, getting funds from venture capitalists, getting grants from the government, and crowdfunding. These are the long term sources of finance. These things comes under external sources of funds. The next, we are going to see the key terms of those external sources of funds. First, we are going to see what is maybe trade credit. Trade credit is nothing but it is like credit card, where we are buying something now and we are not paying for it until later. So sometimes will be some period of time will be given for making the payment. Here it's like just imagine a credit card like that, going for a credit purchase by the business for the raw materials. Usually the credit is given for 30 days to 45 days. After that, in the set time we have to make the payment. That is trade credit. The next comes the overdraft. Overdraft, we know that it is a facility given by the banker to the customer, exclusively current account holders. This is a facility provided by a bank when the balance of your current account goes into negative figures. It is for an agreed amount and for an agreed period of time, and if this is exceeded, then high cost will occur. Say I will give you an example. I am a current account holder. I am a very good customer with good transactions. Bank itself is providing me the facility of overdraft. In that case, for example, I am giving a check to my customer for an amount of 10 lakhs. But in my account, when the check comes for collection to my bank, but my account is having just 9.5 lakhs. 50,000 is not, it is less than the check amount. I am a very good customer having a long period of account transactions in the business. All my transactions are satisfied with the banker, so that only overdraft facility is provided for me. In that case, bank will inform me that a check of 10 lakhs given by you came for collection, but available balance is less than the check amount. We are passing the amount check without any problem, and you have to make the payment within some period given by the bank. If not, high interest will be charged. The check will be passed by the bank, and the responsibility, now it is a negative balance. Whenever the amount comes into a bank as a credit deposit, that amount will be taken. The amount which is passed by the bank will be taken along with some interest. That is the facility called as overdraft given by the banker to the good current account holders. The next is leasing. This is when a business rents an item instead of paying for it all at once. This is a way the business saves the money because it makes a monthly payment. Businesses often leases cars or machinery, but they never get to own them. However, they do get free upgrades and maintenance, so business cash flows may be more predictable. See, for example, a latest technology machine, if it is implemented to the business, if it is installed in our business will have a success. But the money which is needed to buy the new technology for the own of the business is insufficient. So at the time, the business can rent that new technology machinery for the business for a period of 5 years or 3 years as per the agreement with the person who is hiring that. So, renting that. In that case, the business is not supposed to invest more. Instead, they have to pay the rent for the machinery or the asset for which it is leasing. If it is so, the cash flow of the business will be good. This is called as leasing. The next term is called as a hire purchase. This is when a business will pay for an item in regular installments over a given period of time. Hire purchase. That means making a purchase of some important asset for the business, like as a machinery or a car or a truck or any something which is important for the business, by making a down payment at a first, and they will be making the regular installment of payment for a certain period. That is called as a hire purchase. Only after the last installment amount is paid, the ownership will be transferred from the seller to the buyer. That is called as hire purchase. The next is venture capital. Venture capital is a type of private equity, a form of financing that is provided to small startup businesses that are considered to demonstrate high growth potential. Venture capital funds invest in these early stage companies in exchange of equity and ownership stake in the companies they invest in. That is, there are certain people who are called as venture capitalists. Their business is to provide funds for starting up a business. They are sometimes known as investors. They will not participate in the activities of the business, they will provide financing if they come to know and if they satisfy that this business will have a good growth or success, definitely they will make the investment. Sometimes they may called as a owners. A part of the ownership will be vested in the hands of that venture capitalist. This is called as venture capitalist. Next is crowdfunding. This is the practice of funding a project or venture by raising money from a large number of people who each contribute a relatively small amount in return for a percentage of the equity in the business. So, getting the finance not from one person or one financier or one venture capitalist, pooling the money from a large number of persons, that is from a group of persons. They will be investing small amounts that amount will be pooled together as a finance for the business. This is called as a certain percentage will be given as a return to them for the investment. This is called as crowdfunding. Now we are going to see what factors will influence the choice of finance. So we have seen lot of types, that is internal sources, external sources. In external sources, short term, medium term, long term and all. Which source will be suitable for us? What type of finance can be easy for us to source? That depends upon that is what we are going to see in this slide. What factors will influence the choice of finance? First one, the length of time, that is short term or medium term or long term, that should be taken into consideration. Second is cost of borrowing. If we go for hire purchase, what will be the interest rate? If we go for crowdfunding, what is the percentage we are giving as an interest? What is the amount we have to repay for the venture capitalist? That is to be taken into consideration. That is cost of borrowings. Next, the terms and conditions of the contract. So, what are the terms and conditions each and every source is telling, which we should not be critical. That terms and conditions should not be critical and it should not backfire the business. That should be taken into consideration. Next is flexibility of finance. Easily sourceable, or we have to work more for sourcing. That should be seen, kept into an important factor. The amount of money required. See, if I need a minimum amount, I should not go for venture capitalist and all. I can go for short term. If the amount is more, and if I have something as a security, I can go for bank loans as a I can opt mortgage loans. No, it's a very huge amount to start a business. I don't have anything. I need some other person's support. If the venture capitalist A capitalist is investing the amount, he will be keen in the business growth. He will give some ideas. He will also work for the business. So everything is to taken into the business. The relationship of the lender. So how the person is who is lending the money, whether that person has any interest towards the businessman, or if he is having any good relationship, or if he is a person only providing money for the returns. That type of relationships are also to be taken into consideration for the choice of finance. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience listening of the topic sources of finance.